I'm not gay. I mean, I say I am, but it's totally inaccurate. I say I'm gay because after a long while of exploring my sexuality, I think the fastest way to get the point across in conversation is to say that I am gay. And that's weird, right? That's just weird. How can a label that doesn't perfectly fit me be the most comfortable? Well, in this assignment, I'd like to talk about exactly that. How I came to that conclusion, the cool stuff that I learned along the way, and the shortcomings that I believe that label still has. Yep, that's right, I have my own complaints about how things are handled in the LGBTQ community. I can already hear the roaring bearing down on me from either side. Bear with me. Let's start with myself. My name is Fiona. I'm a woman and I prefer she/they pronouns. Ah, the rumble of foreshadowing. In more detail, I enjoy both femininity and androgyny in roughly equal amounts, all of the time. I paint my nails, I wear cute earrings, I take feminizing hormone therapy, I look alright enough that I occasionally get uncomfortable comments from guys, but also I'm not particularly excited by pink or purple, preferring more dark or muted colors. Skirts, I've accepted, do not work on me. I don't do makeup either, but that's partially because I'm not very good at it. Femininity and androgyny in roughly equal amounts at the same time. We need this as a baseline to establish sexuality because the way that we define labels is by relationships. Our sexuality categorization system takes both partners into account. And here's where we come to the first failing of the system. We're just going to put a pin in this until later. We have one system for categorizing both relationships and categorizing individuals' preferences. Simply put, it's trying to do too much. A bisexual person can be in a straight relationship, but that doesn't make them straight. If you told them so, you'd likely get smacked across the face. The pin is to remind us that having one system to do two tasks is putting too much strain on how much we can use it, and overcomplicating the whole process. I'm just gonna stick it right here. Now where were we? Right, how to label my sexuality. Of the people I find myself attracted to, I figured out that roughly 85% of them are feminine, androgynous, or somewhere between the two like myself. The remaining 15% are masculine people or other flavors of non-binary. Easy peasy then, right? I've got all my bases covered in terms of gender expression, that makes me pansexual, right? Well, that's not really how I see it. Look, 85% is a lot. It's more than just a slight leaning one way or another. I found that in most situations, it's just not really helpful to call myself pan. So if I'm not using pan, what would be more helpful? If we focus on that 85% as the norm, I could go for the terms lesbian or sapphic, except neither of those fit perfectly either. Lesbian is explicitly for people who identify as women, which cuts out a bunch of androgynous non-binary folks that I'd be happy dating. Sapphic pretty accurately encompasses that 85%, but I wouldn't blame you if you had to pause this video to go double-check that definition. Much to my dismay, the average person interacting with the LGBTQ+ community likely doesn't know about labels that aren't in that main acronym. We've created ways to categorize every possible kind of attraction and relationship, but failed to make those labels accessible and understandable to the general public. That's why people, like myself, go for labels near the surface, near mainstream culture. I am gay because when people ask me about my identity, they often don't want to know who I'm attracted to, they want to know if I'm weird or not. And the answer is yes. I am very weird. Gay says that in the least amount of letters. To people who actually do care, there is an underlying truth to it, where I am attracted to people who loosely follow the same gender roles as me in most cases. And even in spite of all that, coming to this final conclusion, I still in rare cases use any of the 4 labels that I mentioned previously. All of them are partially applicable in one way or another, depending on the crowd that I'm with. A label is a combination of both connotations and denotations, and you have to weigh them both so that way you can decide what is right for you. Also, connotations change, so labels change. Hot take, all gender and sexuality is as fluid as society's perception of them. Funny how that works, isn't it? Okay. I've been pretty critical of this assignment. Let me offer some reassurance first. This system isn't going anywhere. Does it have issues? Yes. In my opinion, the system is overcomplicated, niche, and trying to do too much at once. Does it deserve to be removed entirely? No, not at all. Flawed or not, it still brings a lot of good. Any queer person can crack open Wikipedia one night and spend 5 hours looking up terms and definitions to find out exactly where they sit, and then not using it. But that's still productive, because you're learning about yourself. It's a tool for understanding, and that is invaluable. Reassurances out of the way, here's what I expect to see within the next 5 years. Actually, maybe more accurately between 5 and 10 years from now, once we've survived all the cuts to queer and genderqueer studies. Prediction 1. I think, in the label space, romantic labels are going to overtake sexuality labels. Most queer labels follow the same format: a prefix that denotes the interaction between two genders, and a suffix that notes either sexual or romantic attraction. People often don't use both though because their romantic and sexual attraction lines up far more often than not. Using both labels is just long and redundant, so we use one and then specify both if needed. For the longest time, we have used sexuality as the primary label that informs a romantic secondary label. I think there's going to be a push to flip the script. I think that terms like biromantic, heteroromantic, and aromantic are going to start cropping up a lot more than they already do. Heck, the aromantic and asexual community has already gotten a head start with the common label of aroace prioritizing aromantic. Something I can't figure out is what's going to happen to the term sexuality. It's been the name of these labels for so long that my brain can't quite wrap around what a romantic version of that word would look like. I don't know. Prediction number 2. I think that we're going to have a new system, separate from sexuality labels, for describing attraction rather than relationships. Something deeply customizable and a lot less arcane. If we could just cut back to the foreshadowing a bit from earlier, well, bam! A label, and then a clarification for general use. I predict that, in the same way that we have preferred pronouns for the system of gender. My name is Fiona. I'm a woman, and I prefer she/they pronouns. We'll have preferred partners for the system of sexuality. It wouldn't be as often used, but it could be great for dating profiles, discussions about sexuality, and expressions with pins and stickers and such. I'm not clairvoyant. I have no idea what this kind of system would actually look like, but I can take a crack at it. In text, you'd start with a prefix like I heart, and then it'd be done with slashes like pronouns, and categorized by single-syllable gender descriptions. For example, I heart, femme, masc, envy. For pins, you could get smaller heart-shaped ones with the same single-syllable terms on them, and then add them next to or around a larger sexuality label pin. If we keep going further out on this limb, maybe the system is expanded past gender identity into just, like, types. Still keeping the single-syllable labels, though. For example, I heart, femme, andro, goth. If it gets the point across, it's doing its job. This is an idea of what it might look like. I can't confirm that in much detail. All I can confidently predict is a succinct, highly customizable system to accompany sexuality labels, not replace them. Anyways, I think that's everything. I mean, not everything. I could probably talk about this for hours, but hours of animation aren't that great on my wrists, so I'll save the longer stuff for some other discussion. Oh my god, my voice is so gravelly, I need to lie down.